Good afternoon. My name is Tim Southwell. I'm joined with Grant Shadden, and we're from ABC Acres in Hamilton, Montana. Today we're coming from our greenhouse here in the winter of 2015-16. It's just gone lunchtime, and we've got some interesting things going on here. And I thought we would talk to Grant today about how we're utilizing the greenhouse and design to extend the growing season year-round.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. As Tim mentioned, we're here in the greenhouse. It's on a cold winter's day, but it is very warm in here today. It's about 74 degrees by the thermometer, and a lot of that has to do with just good permaculture design principles being implemented to make this a very warm, favorable environment for year-round food production. And we're going to go through some of these systems that we designed and put into play, and also the underlying permaculture principles that drive design and everything that we try to do here at ABC Acres. First off, we're dealing with some passive solar design. We also have the climate battery system, which we'll get into a little bit more. We've got some passive geothermal. We've incorporated thermal mass elements to absorb heat energy and release it when it's needed. And we even have a backup infrared heater in the event that we have prolonged, cloudy, cold days where some of our other systems aren't going to really be able to benefit our internal greenhouse environment. With that being said, we'll go through each one of these a little bit more in depth and then put them all together and show how we have a very unique, resilient greenhouse system. First off is the passive solar design. You can see by the angle of our glazing here, and then we have our roof line that it's oriented with the sun angle in such a way where in the wintertime, we're allowing in as much solar radiation, the light, the heat energy as possible to really create a good warm environment and to charge this space up with heat during the day. And we've got our black wall in the back where that sun angle is hitting that throughout the fall and winter and early spring and really building up the heat reserves. But in the summertime when the sun is higher in the sky, it lets good light in, but it can't hit as much of our thermal mass, so it's not charging it up and overheating the space. And so that happens with very little, if any, energy expenditure in terms of electricity or anything like that. So passive solar design is a great start for any greenhouse, for any building for that matter. And next we have our climate battery. So when we have nice sunny days like this and the heat energy is coming and building up, well, we want to catch and store that energy. And that's one of our permaculture principles. We're catching and storing all this solar energy with passive solar design, with the climate battery, with these different elements. And so we have this heat building up in this space. And once it hits a certain point, our climate battery system kicks on and actually starts pulling that warm air and storing it below our feet, believe it or not, in a series of pipes, and that's surrounded by gravel. And then we store that, and then at night when it starts to get colder in here and the thermostat senses that it's starting to get a little too cold, well then it pushes that warm air back out into the space, keeping it nice and temperate in here. So that's our climate battery. Next, I talked about the passive geothermal, and we simply just sunk our floor of our greenhouse and growing space a few feet below the surrounding grade, and that's just to tap into the constant temperature of the earth, and we have that as a renewable resource. And that's another one of our permaculture principles in this greenhouse, is using and valuing renewable resources and services. We've got this fantastic renewable resource in the sun, and so we're trying to catch and store that and use it as much as we can. And then we have our thermal mass elements. And so we have our back wall. It's a nice thick wall of concrete painted black, and that interplays with the passive solar design, as I mentioned before, getting charged up during the day and then just passively releasing heat at night when it's needed. Same thing with our paver floor and the concrete raised beds and even the soil. And in the event that we wanted to do aquaponics or just add another thermal mass element, we could take some some plastic containers painted a dark color, filled those with water, and those would be another thermal mass heat storage. So another permaculture principle that we like to implement, and that we did in this case with the greenhouse, is integrate rather than segregate. So we integrated our needs for power with our solar photovoltaic system that also catches and stores solar energy. This time, instead of it being in the form of heat directly, it's in the form of electricity in our battery bank in the shop that's across the road. But we integrated that system into this greenhouse system. So the few fans and things that do run to keep this system going are all run off of solar electric. So once again, using renewable energy and integrating systems to build the whole and make them all more efficient. And then as you've been listening and watching, you're probably thinking, wow, they have a lot going on here. It may seem a little redundant. And that's for good reason. We have redundancy by design. And what I mean by that is, with a lot of these basic needs, if it's water, if it's shelter, if it's heat, if it's food, you want to have several different sources or means to meet those, so that if one fails, you have several backups. And that's why we have these very different, diverse things happening, and several of them together, is because there's resiliency in redundancy. And so we wanted to have the solar electric, the passive solar, the geothermal, the climate battery, and then we even went to that infrared heater as a backup. So all that put together allows us to have this space where we're growing bananas, citrus, avocados, year-round. There's snow on the ground, but it's 74 degrees in here, and these plants are thriving. We just planted them a little while back, so we're still waiting, and it'll be a little time before we start enjoying the fruits of our labors. But you can also see that this greenhouse currently is underutilized, and we're really looking forward to starting to incorporate more and more food production systems, and even our own plant starts for planting out in the field on the farm. So that's a quick run through of our greenhouse, and thanks for watching.